Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the eye test. It's your boy Lyés and my guy CultureCams. I've taken back the intro, man. Cam had it for a few weeks. I'm taking it back. And in honor of international break, which is just our favorite time of the year. Honestly, I love it when there's no Premier League football. I love the Nations League. I figure let's kind of go back to the niche topics and speak about not the winners today, but the unfortunate losers, the guys who just missed out. Today's episode is about the greatest national teams to not win a tournament. And that's not to say never won a tournament, because then you're kind of limiting yourself, but for a respective tournament, like this team didn't win this World Cup even though they could have, or this team didn't win this Euros because they could have. Who are the 5 teams in international football, the 5 best teams to never win an international competition? And I know it sounds kind of tricky when I'm saying it, but just remember, it's for like one respective year. As always, my boy Cam, how you doing today, bro?
All good, man. All good. Feeling good. We've got the new manager in, of course. So I can't wait till after the international break. Ruud van Nistelrooy's left the club. Yeah. Heartbreaking.
He did you proud though. Ruud did you proud.
Oh, mate. Honestly, I feel like it was so perfect because he left the club beefing Fergie, had to apologize afterwards. And don't get twisted, I don't think he actually ruined his reputation at all. I think all United fans appreciated Van Nistelrooy regardless of what happened with Fergie. He's actually one of the only ones I think that beat Fergie and kind of left without it damaging his rep with the fan base.
Too, though, to be fair.
Yeah, Stam. Yeah, do you know what? It's because Fergie admitted that Stam was a mistake.
Yeah.
I think if Fergie never admitted that Stam was a mistake, United fans would have still been like, because if you read the papers, when he left, there was a lot of like, he's a snake, he's a traitor type of thing.
Yeah, I remember the talk around that.
Yeah.
I was there. I remember
so
that.
if you see on the papers, it says that. But I think because Fergie admitted it was a mistake, everyone's like, oh yeah, we missed Stam. But Ruud, he left. Fergie never said anything. He carried on, and we still appreciated him. So yeah. But anyway, what about you, man? You went to Lyon. How was it? Even though, wait, you're a snake though, because your family are Saint Etienne, no?
Oh, my mom's side is Saint
And then
Etienne.
you're doing.
Hold on, aren't all your family members Chelsea fans?
No, not all of them actually. They're not all.
Which one of your family is United?
Bro, no, I'm not. I ain't got United in my family, but I got Arsenal, I got Chelsea, I got Tottenham.
What? So you got all these ops.
Yeah,
I'm not
but you grew up and your man's doing.
Look, man, I'm a free agent, bro. I'm a free agent in these countries, bro. I can't lie. I'm a gun for hire, bro.
That's funny, man.
This weekend I was hired by Lyon, man. Lyon and their ultras. Yeah, I went out there with Liga. Shout out to them, bro. And just covered Lyon. I covered the big derby against Saint Etienne. It was incredible, bro. Honestly, keep an eye out for that one, guys. It's gonna be a sick kind of documentary match day coverage of that.
That bit where you lot are like, oh shame. That bit I saw on your Insta story where you're like running after the goal or something,
bro.
That looked horrible.
And I was with my tour guide, if you want to call it, Alexi, sick guy by the way, right?
Yeah.
But he's like a Lyon diehard fan, right? And he was kind of like just showing me around the city, telling me about it, bro. He got me so hyped for it, bro.
Sick. But why did you walk out like that? Like that? Here we land, boy. Huh? There we land, or whatever.
I walked out like I'm a new signing.
You were like,
I walked out like I'm a new signing. I should have gone like this.
Literally. Man, we were like, that's like what Thongden always does as well, isn't it?
What was that?
I was like, yeah, bro. I was dying, bro. That was so funny, bro. But anyway.
Oh man, but sick. It was a 6-6 weekend. But we got to get back to business. The 5 best international teams to not win a respective tournament. What are the ones that kind of stand out to you before anything? Are there any that kind of come to mind right off the bat? Because there are a few for me. I was thinking about this one.
Brazil 82.
Zico. Yeah, that team. Honestly, though, all jokes aside, me and Cam were actually watching on YouTube the other day, like the whole tournament breakdown of that.
82,
bro, that.
Bro, there was some madness.
Maradona's red card against them.
There was a lot of scamming going on there, man. When that keeper absolutely
Germany
knocked
against
man
France,
out.
Schumacher.
There was a lot of cheating in that tournament.
No, but to be fair, my dad actually tells me, and a lot of people believe that 1982 Brazil team is the best national team ever to not win the World Cup that year. Like that's a common kind of perception. And the way Zico was hooping that year, bro. Oh my god,
bro, he was absolutely going mad, bro. Honestly, bro. And remember, we started following his actual club career.
For Flamengo, he was going crazy, bro.
But anyway, jokes aside,
we're gonna go 2000s onwards. Right?
2000s onward. Do you know what team that I think about as well? Like, and it's crazy because so you know what? It's funny because actually yesterday I was watching because obviously Gary Lineker retired, or not retired. He's leaving Match of the Day, which by the way, heartbreaking.
Is that why it felt like a funeral in here, bro? I smelled
Yeah.
like candles at one point. Maybe we were
Bro.
making a vigil for him, bro.
I was pained up, man. I was pained up.
I
Honestly,
just lost
bruv.
my dog.
Bruh, I lost. It's like I feel like I lost a friend, man. But so I was just like kind of going through YouTube and stuff, and then I ended up going randomly because somebody on my TikTok wrote like, "Oh, the Premiership on ITV was better," and then so I remember I just went through that, and then I ended up getting to like Des Lindman's final ITV game, and it was the Euro 2004.
Okay.
The Euro 2004, and I was watching Terry Venables, RIP. He was talking about Portugal, and basically he was talking about how good Greece were defensively, and it was actually really good insight because we just now look at it as fluke, easy team. But I was listening to Terry Venables break it down, and he was like, the way they've nullified all of their star players, the way how defensively, these are the stuff that we'd appreciate now.
Yeah.
But when I'm looking back at it, I was like, okay, cool. So I started watching some of the games, looking back, and you know what's crazy? A bit off topic, but Terry Venables was like, oh, they've got Figo on one side, they got Cristiano Ronaldo on the other side, two of the best in the game around. Ronaldo was 18, you know, and people seem to think that he was not this talent. He literally said two of the best in the game are on their flanks. And I was like, anyway,
Wow.
I was gonna post that to Twitter, but maybe I'll do that later. Anyway, back to the topic. And it just got me thinking about that Portugal team, bro. And I looked through it, and you got to remember, right? That Portugal team, firstly, they were at home. It was a home Euros. A lot of people say, oh, if Rooney didn't get injured or whatever, maybe England could have beat them. But if you actually look at that team, right, in terms of the quality of that team
has some ballers.
And you actually think about the form a lot of them players came into, because don't forget, a lot of them players just won the Champions League with Jose Mourinho.
In particular, one guy.
And exactly, I'm about to get into, won the Champions League with Jose Mourinho and Porto. So you're looking at that team. So just from the Porto players, there was Paulo Ferreira, Costinha, Ricardo Carvalho, Deco, Ricardo. I miss it. It's Ricardo as well. There was more. So, and then I just said them players who are really top quality. And then you mix that in with an experienced Luis Figo, Rui Costa, Manish, who was a really good player at the time, Thiago, who went to Chelsea after that tournament. Obviously. Then they had Postiga and Pauletta. Now maybe that was
Helder Postiga still he was around.
He was there, Helder Postiga, Wow. Now the striker thing for Portugal has never really been their strongest, with Pauletta, Nuno Gomes, and Postiga. You could do worse than Pauletta,
though, I think.
Yeah,
like he's not like Henry, for example. Pauletta was still like a batsman, right?
He was a good player. Yeah, he was a good player. And then, of course, you had a young, exciting Cristiano Ronaldo. You had Simão, if you guys remember Simão.
Sabrosa. Yeah, one of the sickest names in football.
Simão. If you just listen to the names that I'm reading off, right?
It's a good team.
Really, really good team. Solid defensively with people like Carvalho, as I said, people like Paulo Ferreira. Midfield had ballers. Manish, Cristiano, Figo, Rui Costa, supporting a striker who was actually good for internationally, Pauletta. I think that team, it goes under the radar because it's seen as a bottle job. But I think that's one of them kind of, maybe I wouldn't want to say streets will never forget, because they have forgotten. But I think that team is one of the best teams to not win.
That's their golden generation as well, too, that Portugal team. Like, that's for the most, obviously Cristiano wasn't at his peak. Like, if you had Cristiano on his peak in that team, then wow. But you look at that, that's a lot of their best ever players all playing together at the same time at home. Yeah. And I don't know if you remember this, but I've seen so much footage of this tournament in the past. Eusebio had such a huge part in that team. He wasn't the coach, but he was like part of like the federation or whatever. Yeah. Bro, this guy was like running on the pitch and stuff like that, bro. He was on the touchline telling people, go here, go here.
In his gray suit.
Yeah, man. Like that's a really good one. And I think, you know what, with that Portugal team, me and you talk about this a lot, right? But I think that almost represents how, yes, in this country, that England golden generation always gets propped up and talked about. In fact, one of the best teams to not. How did England not win a trophy? But that Portugal team is just an example of the caliber of international teams that were kicking around. Then that's just Portugal, for example. Then you had Italy, you had France, you had Brazil, you had Argentina. You had great international teams at that time that when you look player for player, squad for squad, yeah, England had some great players, but it's not like these guys were schmucks, man. These guys had world beaters in positions as well too. So yeah, I think that Portugal's a really good one. I don't think a lot of people will speak about that.
Yeah, I'm trying to come with more of the niche ones. Like
Yeah.
I know you've got some like
Yeah, I've got some in my
really
head
like
right now. Yeah.
like really known ones. I'm probably gonna come with a little bit more niche ones because a lot of the time people will probably say England 2004
Yeah.
golden
No, England's not on my
generation,
list, to be fair.
blah blah blah.
Yeah.
So I'll let you go with your one.
Yeah.
What would you say your one is?
One that I look at 2006 because I
Okay.
think 2006, when I look back on it, I think it's the tournament that had like the most good teams at a great level that I can remember. Like you had a great Argentina team.
Do you think?
Yeah, I do. Especially 2006 onwards. Maybe you can think of teams tournaments before that, but 2006 onwards, I think this was the tournament where you look at most of the big teams, they were at a very good level.
So just before you get into that, I was having a discussion one time, which is funny. I wish I could get it up. If I knew you were gonna say that, I would have had something up, right? I think at that point, I don't know if I was on that side actually that you're saying, but I think at that point I was saying everyone was either in their peak or just about to
Exit their peak.
exit
yes,
their peak.
yes, and
right?
that's why I
Yeah,
think this
yeah,
tournament
that
is so
tournament,
sick.
Everyone was
Yeah,
about
bro.
to-
Honestly, let me tell you this, right? You had France with Zidane,
Yeah.
Vieira, Thierry Henry,
All on
Claude
their, like,
Makelele,
last
Thuram.
dance. Yeah, everyone's
a young Ribéry. That's
Yeah.
France right there. I'll leave Brazil to them because that's the team I want to bring up. You had England, of course, their golden generation.
England messed up because England
Had
walked
guys in their peak,
from
yeah.
2006 2008.
Yeah, that was their
England
peak.
had their peak play
because they had Gerrard, Lampard,
John
Rooney,
Terry,
David Beckham, Michael
Rio.
Owen, Rio, John Terry,
These
Ashley
guys
Cole.
were just they're just about to get.
Yeah, and then you look at, for example, Argentina. Argentina had an amazing team. That guys: Peckerman, Riquelme,
Maxi
Crespo,
Rodriguez.
a young Messi, a young Tevez was still kind of coming through. Mascherano, like that team was crazy good, and they got unlucky. They lost on penalties. You look at Germany. Germany were hosting it, and they didn't have their most vintage team ever, but you still had Klose, Ballack, like honestly, good team. You look at Portugal. Portugal still had Cristiano, who was 2 years older. Figo, Deco, they had a great team as well too. And then you even look at the smaller nations, bro. Czech Republic with Nedved, Ukraine with Shevchenko, like Togo with Adebayor, bro. Like there were still some really good players those days.
Yeah.
And then for me, Brazil, who came, and obviously that's what I'm even saying, Italy, who won the whole damn thing. And they conceded two goals. Their defense is incredible. But you look at that Brazil team. Brazil came into this tournament as massive, massive favorites because they had just won the tournament edition before. Ronaldinho was entering that tournament off Player of the Year caliber form from the last 2 seasons. Like he was the reigning Ballon d'Or winner. He just won the Champions League. They had an Adriano who was coming up. Kaká was kind of right before the peak of his career. He was about to put up a Ballon d'Or campaign. You look even throughout that team, Juninho on the bench, Zé Roberto, Lucio, Juan, like Dida in goal.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Cafu and Roberto Carlos on either side were old, but they were still legendary players. R9 up front. And they went into that team. You might say, oh, these guys were past their best or whatever. But the expectation when they came in was, this is the best team on the planet by far. The 4 attacking players that they can put out in Adriano, R9, Dino, and Kaká is untouchable. They should walk this tournament. And obviously, from the first minute, by the way, they flopped that tournament. In the group stage, they weren't that great. People weren't convinced. They weren't convinced. They go to the round of 16. I think they destroyed Ghana. And it was like, okay, maybe we're starting to get it together. And then that game against France, which is best remembered as Zidane just kind of like toying with these guys, was really the ultimate conclusion to the R9 era, the Cafu era, Roberto Carlos. Dino never played another World Cup after that. But
Kind of crazy.
it's kind of different. It's kind of weird because when the tournament ended, when they went out, they were kind of like humiliated in Brazil.
Yeah.
People were like tearing down Ronaldinho posters and stuff like that. It was a massive worldwide failure because don't forget as well too, Brazil had just come off 3 World Cup finals back to back to back. 94, 98, 2002. We were in a point with Brazilian football where anything but winning the tournament was considered failure. Now when you look at it, they haven't won a tournament since 2002. But at that point, the expectation was Brazil wins every single tournament they go into. And you look at the quality they had there, the talent, guys in their peak like Ronaldinho, the way they kind of fell flat in that tournament, for me, it's not the best team in terms of how they played, but on paper, wow.
You know what I think? Do you know where I think they went wrong in that tournament?
Where?
R9 shouldn't have played.
Oh yeah, he was cooked. He was cooked.
They should have put the team on Adriano, bro. They shouldn't have started R9, bro. That was...
No, but they started both of them.
I know. R9 should not have been a starter at that point, in my opinion. When watching that tournament, he was overweight, bro.
Yeah, he was.
He was
And he still
overweight.
scored 2 goals.
Yes, but bro, the whole tournament was about him breaking the record.
I remember that. Yeah.
It became obsessed with him breaking the record. When he did it against Ghana, it was a nice moment, but it felt very just sentimental, bro. Like, it just felt a little bit sentimental that it was all about like R9 breaking that record. And I think they should have went for the younger option. R9 coming off the bench would have been unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? But I think they just kind of pushed it. You know, Brazil are a very emotional nation as well. It needed R9 to be on that stat chart. Do you know what I mean? And I think that was a big mistake. They had young players on the bench as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? No name, but he was ready to be playing at that time as well. He wasn't. So when I look at that, I remember there was a leading up to the tournament. Do you remember that legendary goal, the mad counter attack, all of them? And I was just like, they look ready for that.
Even the advertisements at the time, Joga Bonito, R9 is in the commercials. He's in look,
R9.
The dressing room, they're all playing.
Yeah, R9, look, obviously he's a legend and stuff, but I just think even look, you know, with the World Cup, like, it was kind of similar. You know, like Ronaldo, Cristiano with Portugal now. Yeah. And it's kind of like, obviously they haven't really got much great options. They haven't got an Adriano waiting, but it's kind of like maybe you would have been better served coming to the bench. You're kind of... That was kind of the case with R9.
In that tournament, as the tournament goes on, like I said, they're struggling. They're winning, but they're not winning. Like, you can tell there's holes in this team. The guy that they eventually sacrificed for the France game, it wasn't R9, it was Adriano, in fact, who came off the bench. And then they brought in, I think, Juninho to kind of play in midfield. But even Juninho's an attacking midfielder. They're playing him in like a pivot with Zé Roberto. And genuinely, you look at that team, Dino's playing on the left, so Kaká has to play off the right. Like, madness, it's just so, like, the whole dynamic was completely off, bro.
Dino on the left is doable, right? Kaká should have been in the center.
Yeah.
You should have had two
guys like
behind.
4-4-2.
Yeah, 2 guys behind, a winger, whoever, and then have Adriano up top. This is 2006 Adriano. This is like peak Adriano. This is the Inter Miami, athletic, quick, fast, everything that you need. He was that.
Didn't he just come off that great Copa America and Confederations Cup too? Yeah.
And they went aside. They went for the sentimental thing of R9. I think that ruined their ballot. I think that.
But I look at that team, right? I look at the names, and again, I get it. Cafu, he's over the hill. Roberto Carlos wasn't maybe at his absolute apex, but the names of that team, it was almost like a formality. Brazil are going to win the World Cup.
You can get away with experienced defenders in international tournaments, in my opinion.
But you know what? They're not like Cafu and Roberto Carlos are like high flying fullbacks. Like, it's not like, okay, if you're like Thiago Silva at 40, but you want Cafu and Roberto Carlos are at their best when they're 28 years old, flying down either wing.
Nah, all right, cool. So that's one. I think you know what another one is, right? I didn't get to watch them live much because in 2002, my focus is only England, bro. I'll keep it 100. You know, you're just watching it. That was really when I always said England are the first team I supported. Sure. Because when I was watching 2002 season, I was kind of just whatever my brother's support. He was supporting Chelsea. I would be happy that he's happy. You know what I mean? Oh yeah, well, boom, Johnson, Hasselbank. Do you know what I mean? But I wasn't really supporting. England were the first ones where I was like, yeah, let's get lit. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So, but if you have done my research, you look back, you watch the videos, you watch the World Cup 2002, everything's on YouTube. The Italy team in 2002, right? Oh, man, I actually feel sorry for them, bro, because I don't really feel sorry for Italians because I always feel like Italy win the World Cup when there's such a good team that needs to win it or a legend needs to get it. All of a sudden, Italy do it. They do it all the time. They're like the party poopers, isn't it? Party poop for England, party poop for flipping Brazil. Party, bro.
06 of Zidane.
Zidane, they just, bro, Italy are the top party poopers. But
so true.
What South Korea did to them in that tournament, right, was a complete robbery. If you guys go back and watch South Korea versus Italy. I mean, if you think Chelsea versus Barcelona is one of the biggest robberies in 2009, go and watch that one. 2002, South Korea versus Italy. You're seeing them get hacked down. You're seeing, and in the end, it ends up being Italy that get men sent off. Totti gets sent off. It's absolutely ridiculous, like what happened in that tournament. South Korea, brown envelopes. They were host nation. We all know. Let's keep it 100. We know FIFA, man. Every year, you guys are getting under scrutiny. However, the team. I'm just gonna read a team, right? So I've got a lineup thing here. It has a 3 at the back formation. Buffon, Cannavaro, Maldini, and Nesta.
Oh my
as the back 3.
What?
with Zambrotta and Tomasi as the
Sure.
wing backs.
Sure.
Zanetti, people forget he's
Christian
very
Zanetti. Yeah,
versatile.
yeah.
Was it? Yeah,
It was
sorry,
Christian
Christian
Zanetti.
Zanetti.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Christian Zanetti, Gattuso
Yeah.
as the base, Del Piero, Totti, and Vieri.
That team did Pirlo, by the way. Pirlo hadn't come through yet. He was still trying to do a number 10
Yeah,
arc at Inter. Yeah, yeah.
Pirlo hadn't come through at this
Yeah, yeah.
point yet, but
That's a crazy team.
that's a crazy team. Yeah, you may look at that team, you might think like, where's the kind of speed and where's the kind of maybe where's the kind of, how can I say, like the elite dribbler kind of like inside.
But you know, I don't think
Totti was
international.
like,
I don't think international football was about that those
no,
days. I'll
it
be
wasn't.
real. It was really about
to
just
be fair, individual ability.
No, individual brilliance. No, but they had that. They had Totti and Del Piero. But
Del
I mean, like
Piero,
guys
yeah.
who just run past players and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
It wasn't so like if you had two elite players in tight spaces that could
Mm-hmm.
just create and then have a crazy defensive frame. I mean, it's kind of similar to what Argentina did with Messi and these defensive guys.
Yeah,
Like,
that's the thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
you kind of build a shield.
yeah.
And what's the word?
Just let
Allow
your creative guys
best
just
players to do
just
whatever
let
you
them
want
ball
to
out.
do.
And I actually think that period was Totti at his best. I think Totti
100%.
was in his prime. Those couple of years.
2001 is when they won with
won
Roma,
the
right?
league. Yeah, and I just think at that point that was the best version of Totti there was. Obviously, he was great throughout his career, but I think that point was like peak Francesco Totti.
To be honest, right? Obviously, if people that have watched in 2002, it's not like Italy were swashbuckling. They weren't killing teams and stuff, but that's never really been an Italy team. But we're talking about in terms of like the quality. And for me, I'm talking about like on the quality on the pitch. They had an unreal one. They did go out in the round of 16, as I said. So you guys may think, oh, well, round of 16. But if you look at the circumstance in which they went out, thing about Italy is they grow in tournaments. And the thing about Italy is you can never write them off.
Yeah.
So yes, in their group stage, they won 2-0 in their first game against Ecuador. They lost to Croatia and they drew with Mexico. So you're probably thinking, but Italy grow in tournaments, man. With that quality, I would have expected them to get to like the semis or something. But then, the South Korea madness happened and they went
those
out,
kits
man.
were sick too. Remember those Italy kits in 2002?
Oh, yeah.
Beautiful kit,
nice
man.
kits, bro.
Beautiful
Totti with his
kit.
long hair. Good times.
I'm gonna bring it forward a little bit, and I'm going to take it actually pretty recently to 2018. I'm gonna take the 2018. I'm gonna talk about that Belgium team. Yeah, no.
Never liked Belgium.
You don't have to like them, but I think you look at
never
that. You look at
rated
that
Belgium.
tournament, bro. They were objectively the second best team at that tournament, at minimum, right? 2018.
Yeah.
They were the second best team at that tournament. They played, for me, the best football at that tournament, in my opinion. I think they had the best player at that tournament, in my opinion, in Eden Hazard. I think he was incredible that year. I think they had Lukaku, who was banging goals. De Bruyne, probably one of his better tournaments, actually, for Belgium. He came in with some big moments as well, too. And I just look at how that tournament kind of ended up panning out with both sides of the bracket. It's crazy to me that Belgium won their group and got sent to the harder side, while England came second and went to the easier side. And you look at that last group game between Belgium and England, who had both won either like their first two games. If Belgium had thrown that game, like both teams actually put out their second team. If you remember, Januzaj scored the winner in that game because it was Batshuayi, Januzaj, these guys. If they had lost that game, they would have just gone to the other side. And I promise you they would have gone to the World Cup final. And in the final, who knows what happens. Unfortunately, they got unlucky to meet France, who just seemed like they were on a date with destiny at that point. Defensively, that France team was super, and they really understood themselves, that France team. Pogba, Mbappe, Griezmann, Giroud, everybody really understood their roles. But I think, and it often happens like this, right? The most entertaining team at a tournament doesn't always end up winning it. In fact, they rarely ever do. Who's the last international? Maybe Spain, in terms of like the best team by far wins the tournament. But I just look at that
Spain,
Belgium team.
Every Spain win.
That one is like,
Spain
okay, the
should
best
win.
team wins
Yeah,
it. But a lot of the time, the team that you think is the best doesn't always end up winning it. It's always maybe the team that's a bit more intelligent or the team that's a bit more defensively resolute. And I think it was the case with this 2018 World Cup, because I look at the football that Belgium team was playing at times. That big win against Brazil, that felt like a moment when De Bruyne fired in that goal and they knocked out Brazil, who were also big favorites in that tournament.
Coming of age moment.
Yeah, it felt like a moment that like, this Belgium team now they're here, they're for real. And then you also look at what happened after that tournament, man. Hazard kind of went on a downward spiral from there. Lukaku went on to put in some crazy disaster classes on the world stage. Company would go. Fellaini was no longer part of the group. I just think that was it for Belgium. They never really got there again after that. And I think at that point, they were really poised to do something big. And unfortunately, you run into a team that has a date with destiny. And I think it was that France team at the time.
Good one. That's a good one. Because I do remember how good Eden Hazard was at that tournament.
Superb.
I was never really a fan of Belgium. I always thought that they were a bit overrated because their players played in the Prem. And I thought, I'm talking about from an English point of view, I don't know what the world was saying about them, but from an English point of view, I thought everybody thought like, oh, they should win it. But I was like, why? Because they've got Vertonghen and because they got Alderweireld.
Don't you think when a team gets to the semifinals, that's like, oh, they could win this now? They
oh,
really
no, for sure. Listen, as you mentioned, it was like France. It was made for France after what happened in 2016.
Yeah, it just felt like it. Honestly, it felt like it was their time. Yeah,
it was a good moment for France, and even in 2016, that team wasn't ready yet.
France,
So for them to not win it, and then 2 years later go and win it, it made sense. But I even think in that game against France, it was very even.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
It was a very even game for Belgium. So that's a good one. I want to say a team actually, or now, which I think is quite similar to your Belgium take. And with this one, right, for me, like, I'm trying to think, I don't think, has any nation, I think this nation's the only nation that's given me, like, crazy feels, other than, obviously, England, like, because you're supporting England and Nigeria, but it's Colombia 2014, bro. Colombia 2014. Bro, you know the term, something is happening, bro. Yeah. That just what it felt like with Colombia, bro. James Rodriguez, still my favorite, probably my favorite World Cup tournament that I've watched.
2014, that's my favorite one as well too.
I didn't get to watch. Oh no, I'm talking about like I liked Qatar and stuff like. But I'm talking about as an individual player.
You're talking about your favorite World Cup performance over a tournament is James 2014.
Yeah, man. Bro,
wow, talk to me about it.
James Rodriguez in that tournament was a literal superstar coming of age and out in front of us. Because we knew who James was, but let's not act like everyone was super well versed on him. And I actually want to give a massive shout to Rio Ferdinand. Now let me tell you why.
Why?
Rio at the start of the tournament, they said who's gonna be the breakout / star of the tournament, and he said James, bro.
Wow.
Rio said James, bro. I don't know how he
they don't give him credit enough,
bro,
Rio.
I don't know how he got that.
Okay,
bro. He said James Rodriguez, bro. And then he goes and does that, bro. Think about that goal versus Japan. You remember
that? For me is his most underrated goal of the tournament because everyone talks about the goal against Uruguay. That one against Japan where he gets it, the step over chop, and then the dink. That for me was like that's for me the day I took notice of James. Yeah. Like, whoa, like this is crazy,
bro. They were smoking teams.
Yeah.
They beat Japan 4-1. They won 3-0
against Ivory Coast.
Against let me see where it was. Wait. Let me get that up quickly. I just left it. Okay, cool. Yeah, let me go. Like, if you think about how they were doing it, it was a South American tournament, obviously in Brazil. So they had the vibes, the color, the yellow of Colombia. They had a star who's just taking the world over. Like, literally, he is taking the world over. And he's not only doing it with stat padding, the guy is performing. He's giving you step overs, flicks, volleys, chips, everything you needed in terms of entertainment. Colombia were providing, right?
You had Cuadrado, you had
Cuadrado.
And you know what's funny
Jackson
about that
Martinez,
tournament, right? Yep. That tournament was months after Falcao had that massive injury
and
to,
people
to
thought
his knee.
Colombia's peak for them, right?
Exactly, bro. And out of the shadows, James emerged.
It was poetry, bro. Yeah. Smashed Greece 3-0. Yeah. Beat Ivory Coast 2-1. Smashed Japan 4-1. Beat Uruguay, who were, by the way, people thought Uruguay could have stopped them. We're gonna stop them. They didn't. Beat them 2-0. And then Brazil comes,
and you remember the final scene of him crying with David Luiz?
Brazil comes and David Luiz goes and does, come on, the unthinkable. You know what I mean? No, who saw that?
No, but remember at the end, David Luiz had his arm around him and he's telling the whole stadium, like, this guy's the truth, bro.
Yeah, man.
And you know what sums up James that tournament, right? Mm-hmm. It's the fact that since 2014, we go into every international tournament saying, who's going to be the James of this tournament? Yeah. Who's going to be the star that just emerges? And we call it like the James player. I think, look, I'm not saying before that there was never a player, but I think he has a huge part to play. And now every tournament we look out and say, who's going to be that guy that Real Madrid buys at the end of the tournament because he announced himself to that world. What a tournament.
It's a proper World Cup legacy that he put down. And no matter what James goes and does in his career, that was one of them moments where you're forever going to associate with him. He could win many trophies as he has. but he's forever going to be remembered for the 2014 World Cup. And I don't think there's many people like that. You know, you get that in like Hollywood and acting. You can never look at Hugh Jackman and not see Wolverine.
Yeah.
You can never look at this guy and not, you know what I mean? You can never look at, I can't look at Christian Bale, what's his name?
Christian Bale, yeah.
Christian Bale and not see the Batman no more. Do you know what I mean? James, I can't look at you without thinking about the 2014 World Cup. That is what he is. He is synonymous with the World Cup now. And how many players can say that? And I know we're talking about actual teams, but look at the stats that I just read out. They were what was that, 12 goals? They were putting down numbers.
No, they were vibing,
smoking teams.
Even though I can never forgive them for Zuniga, what he did to Neymar.
Oh, for sure.
That was a
dark
sour.
Arts,
that was a sour. No, bro, you almost killed. You could have killed the lad.
Dark arts, and of course, off the pitch, they were providing a lot of.
Okay, Stephen A.
Hey, I'm just saying.
What's that thing he does with the Latina reporter? He's like, stay tuned for numerous reasons.
Hey, I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying.
Oh man, Colombia were a vibe in 2014. No, that's a fact. You know who were in a vibe, but I'm gonna include this in them. I'm gonna include them in this anyways. They were not a vibe whatsoever. In fact, they were so bad to watch that their biggest legend ever said, I don't recognize this team. The Dutch in 2018 and 2010, bro. How can Johan Cruyff after World Cup finals say that's not Dutch football? He said, not in my locker room.
That's funny as hell,
bro. The Dutch, right? Let me give you guys some context, some backstory. The Dutch had this golden generation of players, kind of similar, to be honest, in what we're talking about with Belgium, in terms of they had Van Persie, Robben, Schneider, Van der Vaart, Cow. Like, okay, the last two aren't at the level, but like, you know what I mean? They were producing some players that were playing for the best teams in Europe, really. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of Van Nistelrooy had kind of just like, he was on the way out, Van der Sar was on the way out, and it was their time. And there was this feeling that like, okay, this is like a real golden generation of players. And you remember the 2008 Euros where they were in that group of France and Italy, the group of death they were calling it, and they smoked both of them. The two World Cup finalists from 2 years prior, the Dutch absolutely killed. And then everyone knows how they went out later in the tournament. They lost to Russia, Arshavin kind of announcing himself to the world. And Marco van Basten was actually the coach of that team. Yeah. But a big criticism coming out of that Euros was, okay, these guys' goal scoring is phenomenal. They were actually similar to Colombia in terms of they put 4 past France, I think 3 past Italy. They smoked Romania. But defensively, they just weren't there. And to replace Marco van Basten, they get this guy named Bert van Marwijk, if you remember him. In fact, he was the father-in-law of Mark van Bommel. No. And he decided, okay, I'm going to come to the Dutch. I'm going to have these attacking players, but we're going to be a team that prioritizes defensive stability. The Dutch, we've always been known as beautiful losers. Yeah. And while it's beautiful to watch, no one remembers the losers. I'm going to win, even if it takes us like being anti-Dutch per se. Mm-hmm. And he dropped Van der Vaart, brought in Nigel de Jong, and played Mark van Bommel on a pivot. The Netherlands played a Mark van Bommel, Nigel de Jong pivot. Bro, and the way they played, it was, okay, we got these 4 attacking... If I say 4 attacking, Dirk Kuyt was their winger, right? It's not like they had Neymar out there. We're going to be a team that just wins ugly. But at the end of the day, we're going to win because that's something that a Dutch team hasn't done in the World Cup ever. And they got through teams. They beat that Brazil team, if you remember, which was, again, a big shock. At this point, Brazil were still considered big favorites, and they had completely shocked them there. But all throughout the tournament, you're like, yeah, they could do it, and that's normally how teams win the World Cup, by being ugly, by being defensively resolute, scoring when you need to. And then they just came up against the team with David Destiny, man. That Spain team was just always going to win. But they didn't say, okay, we're going to lose just like a normal team, right? We'll lose, and we're going to lose, you're going to remember.
We're going out mad. We're putting boots in chests.
The way they sight down Iniesta, Xavi, Fabregas, Puyol. Bro, they went out to kill.
Yeah. They literally did. Like, De Jong tried to kill Xabi Alonso. Yeah. He literally tried to kill him.
I think to this day, that's the one foul that like I came away looking like, how the hell did he not get a red card? Like, that's the most obvious red card foul I've ever seen that didn't get given a red card.
Nah, they were on some crazy. But you know when sometimes you just cannot compete on the pitch? They had to do that is even dark arts.
I'm saying Mark van Bommel. It was Nigel de Jong. It was Nigel de Jong who put his literal foot in Xabi Alonso's chest.
I'm telling you,
Xabi Alonso needed the Tony Stark reactor after that shit, bro.
Bro, I'm telling you, that wasn't dark arts. That's just dark. That's what it... Forget them. There's no art to that. Darkness, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I'm telling you, for Johan Cruyff to come out after and say, Nah, these guys ain't Dutch, man. Instead of saying, yeah, we're proud of the boys going to the World Cup final for the first time in 78, you said, nah, these guys, I don't recognize these guys, man. I can't recognize my own team.
Absolutely. Yeah,
But
that's
bro,
hilarious,
you look at that Dutch generation again of Van Persie, Robben, and Schneider, and how they never got away with an international trophy, whether it was 08, 2010, 2014. For me, that's one of the best teams post 2000 to never come away from a tournament with international pedigree kind of coming out of it. So shout out to the Dutch, man. Even though that tournament, boy, they were ugly.
I think I wouldn't say this is the best one, but again, you know what I mean? As I said, I'm here for vibes. I think one that also gave... So I think a team... let's see if you know where I'm going. A team that gave everyone quite similar vibes to Colombia in an international tournament.
Yeah.
Had a star man.
Yeah.
And was shocking the world.
I mean, there's a few. Is it Uruguay?
No. Who is the star man?
Forlan.
Yeah, good one. But were they really shocking the world?
Before or after? Yeah, Uruguay going to the semifinals.
Yeah,
is crazy.
True.
You went before?
Before.
World Cup?
Any competition, international
Russia
competition.
of Arshavin.
There we go.
Yeah.
Russia with Arshavin, bro.
Yeah.
Wow. If you're talking about being synonymous with a tournament, and you're talking about a breakout star like James Rodriguez was in 2014, that Russia team, like, honestly, they were just steam training people. They were steamrolling people. And Arshavin, this little guy, bro, like, they used to call him Meerkat. He used to look like a meerkat. Yeah. This little guy just tearing everybody apart. Nobody had really seen him because he was playing at Zenit at the time. Only FM played. If you played FM at them times, you knew
didn't they win the UEFA Cup that year, Zenit?
They did. They beat us in the Super Cup.
Yeah, and they destroyed Bayern Munich in the semifinals that year of the UEFA Cup too.
They beat us in the Super Cup.
Who did they beat in the final that year?
Who they beat us in the Super Cup though?
No, because
Danny scored the winner.
Danny! You remember Danny? Remember when Paul Scholes started punching the ball in the net?
Yeah, he got a red card, bro.
Danny was a baller too, man.
He was.
Danny was cool.
Danny was good.
Who did Zenit beat in the UEFA Cup final that year?
Zenit.
You know who they beat?
Marseille?
Did they beat Hamburg? I think they might have beat Hamburg, bro. Zenit 2008 UEFA. If I get this one, bro.
Yeah. Was it Hamburg?
Zenit, I think it might have been Hamburg.
I'm saying Marseille.
Nah, definitely not Marseille. Zenit 2008. They beat competitions. Where is this one though? They beat Rangers actually.
Rangers.
Yeah, they beat Rangers 2-0 in the final.
Rangers.
Yeah,
Wow. But yeah, that Russia team, bro, especially the game against the Netherlands, as we're talking about, man. The way they got rid of...
Arshavin was there.
Against us? In the Super Cup?
No,
I mean in the Super Cup.
Yeah, no, but he was there. He was part... So my point is, he was part of that team that did amazing for Zenit, and then he went to the Euros.
I guess it's... so he walked into that tournament on form.
He must have been playing against us, bro, because he joined Arsenal in January of 2009. 08-09, he joined in January, and that's when he scored the 4 goals against Liverpool. Yeah, so maybe he wasn't in the squad or something like that. But you know what's funny about that 2008 campaign? Arshavin missed the first 2 games through suspension.
Of the
Euros. Yeah, and him coming back was almost like, okay. And this was a player at the time, Arshavin, who was considered, like, they were calling him the Messi of Russia, basically. And they missed him in the first 2 games, I think through violent conduct in a friendly or something like that. And he came in and it was like, okay, what's Arshavin going to do for this Russia team? And the impact he had from the jump was absolutely
mental,
crazy.
bro. And it, as I was saying, it fully encapsulated at that moment against the Netherlands, man. They tore the Netherlands apart.
He tore the Netherlands apart.
He tore them. And you look at that Netherlands team, people, as you were just talking about them going in 2010. De Jong, Dirk Kuyt, Van der Vaart, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Schneider, Van Persie was probably on the bench or something. Like that.
No, they were playing all of them, bro.
Van Bronckhorst, Van der Sar. I mean, these are legends of the game, bro. And then you've got this team with Akinfeev, who was a really good goalkeeper. I thought he should have got a move.
He was always linked to United. You remember that? Akinfeev was always with really CSKA Moscow. He's always linked to us.
Underwhelming career for what he actually was, in my opinion. Zirkov, obviously, we know Yuri
Were the Berezutski brothers there?
They didn't start though.
Nah, I remember those two brothers.
I can't remember
the Berezutski brothers.
Nah, I don't remember
the 2 center backs, bro. Come on.
I don't remember.
Oh man, they were hilarious. Bro.
And then they got Arshavin. Obviously, they got Pavlyuchenko, who we all became familiar with at Spurs.
Pogrebniak.
Good, very good team, man. And when you look at what Arshavin did that tournament, as I'm saying, I feel like that was very similar to the James Colombia moment. That same way that you said we're looking for a.
You don't remember these two?
I don't. Oh wait,
The
let me
two
see.
brothers. They played in
I'm
center
just
back
on
for
the right.
CSKA
Oh
Moscow.
yes, I do.
They played together, the two center backs.
Yeah. That's jokes. But you look back at as you said. So we look back at like kind of who's the breakout player every World Cup. But I think it's quite similar to Arsenal in the
1000%,
Euros. A lot of the times you go in there and you're like, who's going to be that surprise factor? And you always every Euros you start seeing throwback clips of Andre Arshavin. It's just absolutely crazy considering his stature in the game isn't elite. Do you know what I mean?
But he took over the world for like 2 years, bro.
Yeah, he
because
did,
then even when he went to Arsenal and then like the little celebration, No, honestly, and then the 4 goal. No, honestly, there was like an Arshavin mania phase in world football.
He's my nephew's goat, bro.
Yeah,
and he's 7 years
seen
old,
that tweet?
bro.
It's like football fandom has gone too far. Why is there a black kid in my class named Arshavin?
Now Arshavin was a mad baller though, but now that Russia team I think was just like similar vibes. Similar vibes in terms of, listen, I know Russia's not really known for a nation that's like very vibey, but it's just, you know, everyone loves the underdog story.
Yeah.
And it's the way they're putting it down. I love underdog stories, but I also love underdog stories when there is someone that's just so good in that team. Yeah. You know, sometimes when it's a team like Greece, where it's like, okay, it was a collective effort and they didn't really have a standout superstar. But when you have people like Andre Arshavin, you have people like Diego Forla, and you have people like James Rodriguez, it's just a little bit different. So that Russia team will be my last submission for best teams not to win an international tournament.
I think that's going to end it for now. I think we've talked about some big ones post-2000s. Guys, let us know who are the teams or even the players post-2000s in international football that when you think, wow, they marked that tournament or they were so close or like on another, like in another universe, they would have won it. Who are the teams that kind of stand out to you guys, man? As always, this has been the Eye Test. Myself, Lyés, my boy CultureCams. Like, share, subscribe. Shout out to BR for always powering this podcast. See all the clips on X, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, and TikTok. And I'll see you next week. Peace.